The first Sonic movie was a surprise for people, not only proving that bullying a massive corporation into changing one aspect of an entire film could work, but it also turned out to be a halfway decent video game movie. It was also the last film I saw before and basically shut down everything, so it holds an interesting spot in my memory. Although the film was pretty much just an average run-of-the-mill road trip movie and didn't have anything to do with Sonic really, except for the fact that the CGI character was him, it was an overall good time. And although I don't really have any intentions of going back and going through the whole movie again, if I were to give it a rating, I think I'd probably go with something like a 6 out of 10. It's alright. Now, Sonic 2, on the other hand, is absolute insanity, and one of the dumbest movies I have seen in a while, and it was so good. This is probably the first live-action video game movie that legitimately feels like it was an adaptation of a game it's based on, not just something that happens to have the name, and even though the film was totally bonkers, I had such a great time with it. The inclusion of other Sonic characters finally was great to see, with both Tails and Knuckles being great inclusions here, especially Idris Elba as Knuckles, who did a pretty good job overall. And although I don't think his voice acting is absolutely wonderful in masterclass like some other people, I still think it was really well done, and a lot of his flat delivery was pretty funny to say the least. They struck a good balance through the story of him having comedy and being a badass. And hell, he has a really nice arc through the whole story, which was really nice to see as well. Tails, on the other hand, was also good, but his introduction felt a little forced, especially with how he already knows Sonic, and the friendship between the two felt a little rushed, with it kind of just happening, like that had to start being their friendship at that moment. It doesn't really feel earned, but they have good chemistry with each other, and you can believe their friendship by the end of the film at least. Jim Carrey was a delight to watch as Robotnik, giving another fun, energetic performance, and I gotta say, he was pretty funny this time around, a little more so than the first one at certain instances, and I absolutely loved how crazy he could get. Plus, his sidekick, Agent Stone, continued to be my favorite character in these movies, and the fact that he wasn't even hiding how much he loved Eggman was absolutely hilarious. Those two had some pretty funny moments, and probably some of my favorite scenes in the whole film. The action here as well was surprisingly good too. It was very energetic to say the least, using Sonic's speed in more creative ways than in the first film. Knuckles just punches stuff hard and a lot, and Tails shows off all his gadgets, including a small little pistol, what the fuck. But especially in the third act, where everyone gets to shine, and it legit felt like Sonic Heroes, the movie. And that's the thing, really. The movie just felt like an actual video game adaptation, not a movie that has the title of the game and happens to have characters with the same names and a couple nods to the original. Sonic 2 uses lore in the games and makes something new and unique with it. Plus, the amount of references to the games here are plentiful and made me go, yes! Yes! Oh, and that end credit scene, man, I mean, it just had me like, damn, it was so good. With all that good stuff, there were a couple issues here though, like how there was a weirdly drawn out dance scene kind of mimicking the first film's bar scene, just not as funny or visually interesting, and a little cringy at points. Additionally, this moment and a lot of others could have been solved by Sonic just going faster, 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 faster to get out of there and others, but nitpicking that is kind of being the no fun police, and it doesn't break my immersion. The second act also started focusing on the human characters in this weird side plot, which was sort of amusing. Like, I didn't hate it, but it just felt really out of place here and took away from the overall interesting stuff in the film. Plus, it just also felt like they were using it as a way of launching an important group in the films going forward than anything else, especially since nothing really changes after the whole second act. It kind of just goes back to the status quo of what should be going on originally, and it was not really needed. Again, wasn't bad, but meh. Finally, jokes here were way more spotty than the first one. Like, I get this is aimed towards children as well, but the first film had a little more consistency. I could probably say only about 5% of the jokes and one-liners made me giggle or laugh, with the rest basically just having me sit in my seat with a deadpan look on my face. But again, that's kind of what the film was trying to do. It was aiming towards children. So in a way, I can't really be too upset with it, but there have been a lot of other films that have been aimed towards children that have good comedy in it that can be appreciated by children and adults. So it just felt a little off here, and it would have been better if they didn't. Also, the cringe moments here are still here, and my god, I really don't need to see these characters flossing. And even then, there were quite a few cringy moments. A little more than in the first one, if I'm being honest. Didn't really appreciate that at all, but I guess that's just how modern movies have to go, I guess. But luckily, none of that takes away too much from what an overall dumb, fun movie this is. I didn't think it would turn out this good, but I'm ecstatic about it. And honestly, I really cannot wait for the third film, which I don't doubt will dive even further into the insanity of the Sonic universe. Though this film has a couple blemishes here and there and takes away from it a little bit, I had such a good time with it and wasn't bored at all. Not even with the second act, with it still kind of being entertaining at least, and a little funny. And absolutely, that third act totally saved the film. It was great. So with that, I'm giving Sonic 2 a nice 7 out of 10. I'll be rewatching this one a lot in the future, and I cannot wait for the sequel whenever that comes out. But now we have to wait and see if the Chris Pratt Mario movie is good, and I'm praying to God it is, but Jesus, it's probably not.